Thanks again for your interest in the Ontarion. We're happy that you want to learn more about what we do and what you can do too. In this video, we're going to dive into the world of copy editing. So the primary objective of copy editing is to improve readability and clarity of writing so that readers have an enjoyable experience when they're reading the newspaper. Also, we're here to support volunteers and writers, so it's not about finding what's wrong, it's about working together as a team. As a copy editor, your main role is to check spelling and grammar and to read through the articles that are submitted with a fine-tooth comb, but not too fine. An important thing that you have to learn is how to be efficient and thorough while editing, but not hung up on every small detail that you come across. Okay, so as a side note, it's important to let the writer's voice shine. Copy editing is meant to enhance, not overpower writing. Just imagine, I love metaphors, just imagine how well the sun and a bright blue sky complement each other on a sunny day. They work together to create a nice image to enhance each other, which is what copy editing is all about. So this, my friends, is the Canadian Press Style Guidebook. And it's basically your go-to guide for everything related to copy editing and beyond. We use this guide at the Ontarion, and the standards that are followed in this book are used by media and communications professionals across the country, so you know it's the real deal. Okay, so another important thing to know is though we strive to follow this guide as often as possible, there are some exceptions where we follow our own in-house style, which are basically like little quirks that we use. And the biggest thing to remember though is that when it comes to style is that consistency is key. Ensuring that you do something the same way every time is the most important thing. So one example of our in-house style is we use the Oxford comma even though the guide advises us not to, and here's an example. Yes, and then the other thing too that's specific to the U of G campus is that with the Ontarion we don't always write the University of Guelph out in full just because a lot of students and readers will understand what U of G means, and so there's no need to write it out as University of Guelph. Okay, so now let's discuss some common mistakes that you might see in submitted articles from volunteers. All of these things can be easily fixed. You just have to know what you're looking for and keep your eyes peeled. So number one, we have numbers. So the newspaper. This is what the newspaper will look like in print after it's been thoroughly edited, but I just thought I'd show you what it looks like. So numbers, you're going to spell out numbers that are less than 10. So anything that's 9 and under, you spell out in full. Except for large numbers, when they're used at the beginning of the sentence, you sort of write them out using words. Okay, so number 2 is abbreviations. So we kind of touched on this before with U of G, which is an exception for our newspaper. But other words that people might not, and phrases that people might not be aware of, like the YMCA, the YWCA, the CSA, all those kind of things, you want to make sure that you're writing out in full at the beginning of the article. So that people understand what you're talking about, and then later on you can abbreviate it. So number 3 is Canadian spelling. So because we live in Canada, we have to make sure that we're spelling things the Canadian way. So for example, favorite with the OU, labor with the OU as well. Just making sure that spelling is correct. Number 4, we have punctuation and contractions. So for punctuation, we always want to make sure that it goes inside the quotation marks, it's contained. A lot of people don't know this and will put the comma outside the quotes, but just making sure it's inside. As well, we touched on the Oxford comma earlier in the video. And for hyphens, so for example the phrase 12-year-old, you want to put the hyphen in between the number 12, year, and old, so that the phrase is more together. And as well for contractions, a common one that we use a lot is it's, so it is, but you have the comma in between the T and the S to contract it. So number 5, we have names, titles, and capitalization. This is a very, very common one. A lot of the time what you can use, because we have Google, it's easy to just type in the name that you're looking for to make sure that the spelling is correct. And it's always proper nouns and names, that kind of thing that we capitalize. As well, for certain artists, there's stylizations that are preferred by them. For example, the one that always comes to my mind is Katie Lang. She prefers her name to be written in lowercase letters, so we want to honor and respect that. other things about capitalization and titles, it gets a little tricky. There's some that are a little strange. You just have to kind of reference the book and make sure you're doing it right. But for example, the phrase Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, you have the Prime Minister capitalized with his name, but when you're just referring to the Prime Minister or the Cabinet Minister, you're going to leave it lowercase. Number 6, so italicizations. This one's pretty common as well. So when you're referring to a book, a movie, an album, you want to italicize the phrase, but you use quotation marks instead for titles of songs, TV episodes, and articles, for example. So number 7, we have dates. So when months stand alone or with a year, for example, December 2017, or if you're discussing the month of April, you're going to write out the month in full. But for a specific date, like November 12th, 1994, that's my birthday, you have to abbreviate the month into November. So something I learned recently is that not all the months are abbreviated, so all the months except for March to July, so March, April, May, June, and July are all written out the same as they would be, but the other months that are a bit longer, you abbreviate them. We have number 8, this is the last one, so places. We talk about places a lot, so it's pretty common. So for provinces, for example, so we live in Ontario, so Ontario is actually abbreviated as ONT, instead of the big capital O-N, which a lot of people think should be the way, but it's not. As well, Alberta is a bit of a unique one. It's ALTA period, PEI, a lot of people know that one. But yeah, you just have to kind of make note of the provinces. They're a little bit unique. For addresses, so addresses, you have to spell out general location. So for example, if you're talking about King Street, you would write out King Street in full. But when it's with a number, so like 36 King Street, you write out 36 King, and then the street portion is abbreviated. Or like One Lakeshore Drive, that's another example. Okay, so that's all for now, everyone. You've learned about copy editing, and hopefully you picked up a few things. Thanks again for your interest in learning more, and feel free to seek out further resources if you're interested on your own, or you can also get in touch with our team if you have any questions or thoughts. Happy copy editing!